What's up guys, broken solar panel here. Today we're going to tear apart this vacuum cleaner and turn it into a siren. Because that's how I made the Blitz siren. It was made out of with a vacuum cleaner motor from a vacuum that was decommissioned. And we got it with a new vacuum, and this one recently broke. But the motor still works in it, so I'm going to take it apart. And we already replaced it with a new vacuum, so I'm going to take this one apart and I'm going to turn it into a siren. Much like I did with the Blitz. Anyways, the motor I think is usually in here because this is like a cylindrical part. So, oh my god, I'm such an idiot. Oh, for God's sake, these aren't Phillips screws, these are star-shaped screws. They're Torx screws. I need a different screwdriver. So, I couldn't find a Torx screwdriver, so I have to use this Allen wrench instead. Plastic, it breaks really easily. That's another reason why we decommissioned it, because this used to have an orange handle on it that would hold this thing in place. The plastic that this is made out of was so cheap that it just snapped after the first few uses, and now it just falls off. So yeah, screw this vacuum. We're gonna use. We have another one already that's actually way better. Vacuum is with it. You can see how crappy this thing is. Please stand by. Okay, I found the Allen wrench. My dumb brain thought it was on the ground. It was actually on the workbench over here, where the fan is blowing on me because it's kind of hot in here. That's what that noise is, the fan. Okay, now that I've taken the motor out of this vacuum, as well as the power cord, it's time to test this motor. I'm going to connect the power cord to it and fire it up and see what it's capable of before I start hacking into it. Okay, for this one I don't know exactly what's going to happen here, so I put some safety goggles and hearing suppression on just in case, so I don't get oofed by this motor if something happens. And there it is right there. Just going to go ahead and plug it in and see what happens. That was anticlimactic. It works. So now I gotta get this cover off. Okay, so now I'm gonna need to knock this off with a hammer because there's no screws anywhere. There we go. There's the fan right there. Let's see. I also have to analyze the thread because the threads in the Blitz siren are actually opposite. So that means you turn it to the right to loosen it and the left to tighten it. So I'm going to analyze these threads and see if this one's the same way. Yep. So now I got these flanges that I'll use to hold the chopper in place. Now if I measure the diameter of the motor, which I could probably just measure the diameter of this thing. Because that'd probably be easier. Then I'll know exactly, roughly actually, how wide to make the chopper. Let's make it 12.5 centimeters. The Blitz's chopper is way bigger than that. It's like, no idea. I'm not going to grab that thing down right now. But yeah, it's right behind the camera over there. So I'm going to grab the jigsaw and just cut off a small portion of it to make it easier to cut. Alright, now that I've got the circle drawn with the lighting and the hole drilled after the failed attempt earlier, it's time to cut this out. Alright, there's the circle. This is going to be the bottom of the chopper. So now I'm going to trim this perfectly around. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So this is how I make it more centered. Push a button here to growl the motor. As you can see, the chopper isn't perfectly centered. Maybe you can't, but I can. So I'm going to go ahead and use this knife. Bring it more or less close to it, not close enough that it's touching until I growl it, and then I bring it in and shave it off. Okay, now I know I gotta do it like this. Oops, my handle broke. See, now it's a bit more centered. So now it's time to make the fins. There's going to be 3 of them. Okay, first thing we're going to do is trace this. Circle's been traced. Now we need to cut it out. Okay, after we cut that out, now we need to measure the circumference. Take a tape measure, stretch it out. We have 39 3/10 around the circumference of this thing. So I'll type that on a calculator so I don't forget it. Divide that by 6. $6.55. Okay, now that I got that measured out, so you can see that. And get the compass back out and make the fins. Okay, now
it's drawn, even though it's got some fails here we'll ignore. Just cut this out. Probably cut the tip off because it looks like it goes a little bit too close to the center. There we go. Believe it or not, this actually isn't going to go on the fins. It's going to be a template for tracing the fins with. And if I were to cut this and then keep tracing, the fins would be all slightly bigger and be all out of balance. So. Okay, I traced the fins out. This one here was a fail because I realized that the fin would take up too much of the center and the intake wouldn't be very good from the air. So here's the template on what's going to be the bottom of the chopper, just to show you what it looks like. You use your imagination to put the other two there. And I'm just going to cut these three out, and those three are going to go on here. Okay, here's the chopper, still unfinished. I have the fins put on, but I haven't glued them on yet. And I'm going to do that right now with this. The ultimate Type Bond 3 wood glue. It's waterproof, exterior, interior, and it also has the ability to be cleaned up with water. I think that means that it's only waterproof after it dries. But let's just go ahead and glue this up. Okay, so I'm going to put these fins on the rotor here, and I have little marks put here, here, and here, so I know exactly where the edges of the fins go. This is basically how I glue on one of the fins. I'll glue on the other two, but you don't really need to see that. Okay, now that we got all the pieces glued up, you gotta make the top part that goes on to keep the fins from flying off if it spins up to speed. It also makes it so the air can be blown properly outwards from the chopper and not have any sort of leaks. So, grab another piece of wood there. I think we probably could just trace this, but no, we need to make another one with the compass so you know where the center is, so I know where to make the air intake hole. So for this, I'll take this, put it there, and just kind of make it like that. That way I know how big to make it. Alright, I got this top part cut out, now I gotta center it and glue it on. Actually, I glue it on first, and the glue takes so long to dry, I have time to center it while it's glued up. And then I just put this garbage disposal on top of it because it's really freaking heavy. So I'm able to glue it on while it's being centered, or center it while it's being glued. But of course, the first thing we gotta do is we gotta grab some sandpaper. Now I just sand the area down. We want to sand it to the glue, so that way it's nice and clean. And now I'll just go ahead and make sure I get any dust particles off. And now to sand this part, the sandpaper just fell down there. Alright, now that we got this all sanded down and ready for gluing, it's time to glue it down so I can center it. Now I just put the garbage disposal on top of it, and then I'll weigh it down. And then I can just wipe off the excess glue. The garbage disposal is so heavy it'll hold it down, keep it from sliding around. This is the waterproof version of this wood glue, so therefore it'll be able to survive being in moist environments, like your mom. Just kidding. Alright. There's a huge freaking flood of glue in there, so I'm going to get my Q-tips and clean it up. Here's gluing up the chopper after I wiped off some of the glue. It's still got a day before I can lift this garbage disposal off of it because I can let the glue completely dry. But yeah, that's how the chopper on this siren is going so far. Okay, the chopper's all glued up, and what you didn't get to see was me balancing it. I drilled some holes in the parts that were weighed down the most, that were heavy. I drilled some little holes in it, so it's a little bit more balanced now. I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the motor, but I'm probably still only gonna growl it because I'm still afraid of winding this up to full blast. Okay, here's the chopper. I'm gonna go ahead and growl it. Until it. It's pretty good. So now I'm gonna do the very risky, I'm actually very afraid to wind this up to full speed. I'm going to wind this up to full speed and hope to God that it doesn't fly apart. Ugh. And I'm going to be way over in the laundry room when I turn it on, just to make sure that it doesn't blow up when I turn it on or something. So I'm going to have an extension cord going in there. Here is where I drew the next part of the stator that the chopper, is going to spin inside. It's going to just barely not touch the walls of the stator, just like a real siren. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and then I'll start making the stator parts that actually go here, here, and here. Stator, not really, it's just the bottom of the stator. Alright, now to make the fins for the stator. Here's where I traced part of the stator ring so I can make one of the stator fins. I'm going to cut 3 of those out, and then I'm going to glue them onto here, equally spaced out. So that way when this spins really fast, it'll chop the air just like a real siren. Template. So now I'm just going to trace this and cut out 3 of these. Alright, here are the stator fins. They'll go right here. I already have the areas marked where they're going to go. You can see the pencil marks. Yeah, there's one, you can see it right there. It's a little blurry, but you can see it. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue these on. Here's gluing up the fins on the stator. Alright, here's the stator before I put the top ring on. Chopper fits nicely in it. I already gave it a test with the motor and growled it. Sounds alright. So now we're going to make the top ring. So for this I'm going to need to find more plywood. I do have over here in the scrap wood section. Here's gluing up the next part of the siren stator. And here's the stator after it was glued up. So let's do a couple growl tests here. Get it nice and centered. Can't wind it up to full speed yet because the stator needs to be fully secured for that. So I'm only going to do a couple growl tests. I'm going to tip the stator a little bit. There we go. And it seems to work okay, so now I gotta make the part that the motor actually mounts to, and so the stator also will mount to it as well. Alright, I've traced the circle that the stator is going to mount onto. There. So now I'm going to cut it out. Here is gluing the stator to the stator holder ring that holds the stator in place, so that way it's lined up with the chopper, using the garbage disposal as a weight to hold it down again, so that way there's pressure to get the glue to actually bond the two pieces of wood, because that's what it says in the instructions, is to apply pressure and have the pressure there for 24 hours. So there it is. Hasn't been 24 hours yet, so that's not going to come off until later, but once 24 hours hits, then I'll take the garbage disposal off and get to the next part of the siren. But of course I gotta also scrape the glue off of it as well, like the excess glue. Okay, this is the new wood siren stator after it's just finished being glued up. Straight to the frickin' table. So you have to pry it off with a screwdriver. Alright, as you can see, this is very nasty, so I'm going to go ahead and peel all that crap off of there. Alright, here's the stator after I get over the excess glue. Okay, it's time to glue on the stator. You notice I've cut out another ring here. This actually goes here. I'm not going to glue it there. That's just so that way I can put the garbage disposal on top of it without resting it on top of the chopper. So the first thing I'm going to do is rest this in place and see exactly where it would be centered. By centering it the best I can, spinning it by hand, and then growling it. Until it clipped the stator, but it managed to correct itself. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and apply the glue. There we go, baby. All centered. So now we'll just let that dry, and then we'll take this off. Alright, it's all glued up, and I just cut the wood off around it, the excess wood and glue. I'll do another growl. Shows you that it works. So now I just gotta make a cover that goes over here. Alright, here's the siren all put together. So I'm going to do another growl because my parents are still home. We're not going to ride up at full speed unless they like go to work or go to a movie or something. Then I'll do a full speed run. Only for a few seconds. For now I'll just do a growl. Okay, this is what I'm going to be using to direct the sound from the siren up and into a shroud, which I haven't obtained yet. Eventually I'll probably get a shroud that will go over the top of this thing. It'll help direct the sound outwards. So the siren is going to go inside this thing, like that, and it's going to direct the sound up, and then there's going to be a shroud up here that directs it out. So it's going to go in here, and I need to find a way to mount it in there. 64.2 centimeters. What the calculator won't turn on. I got another calculator. .4, so every 21.4 centimeters up and down. Okay, I just attached the siren to the thing here. What you didn't get to see was me cutting my hand by mistake on the edge of this thing here while I was trying to use the electric screwdriver here to drive the screws in through here. But I got it all bandaged up, but sometimes the bandage will slip off or come off a little bit because of how either dirty or sweaty my hands are. I don't really know. But I managed to get this on there, and the chopper still spins fine. So let's flip it over so that way it's right side up. Hopefully I don't cut myself again. So then there's going to be a shroud over this thing that helps direct the sound outward, because with this setup the sound will just go straight up. You can see how deep it is inside there. There's the screws that hold in place, just 3 of them. So we're going to go ahead and growl it. So we need to connect the power cord. Okay, here's the siren. It's all right side up. There's the chopper and everything in there. So now let's growl it. And there you go. That's a growl. As you can see, I've taken the siren out of its duct, and this is no longer going to be its mounting duct because I found something better. This. Got this chimney cap, and it's got the same diameter as the duct I was using earlier. I was originally going to have the siren shoot its sound up the duct, and it was going to be a chimney cap on top that was smaller than this. Then when we got a hold of this chimney cap, we found out that the duct was big enough that I could actually mount the siren inside, provided that I trim this axle first, which I did, but it still kind of sticks out a little bit. See? So I'll have to trim it down a little bit further, but I do now have it mounted inside this chimney cap, and it actually does look a lot like an actual siren now. Okay, here's after I trimmed down the axle a little bit more and ground it down with a grinding stone by growling the chopper several times, and then just kind of bring in the stone and growling, or grinding down the axle. And here's what the inside of the chimney cap looks like empty. The top. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the motor back in, or the siren thing back in. Okay, I just put the motor back in. As you can see, the axle now is not past the walls of this thing, so now I can lay flat like this if I wanted to. Okay, now I just got to make a hole in the side for the power cord to go through. Okay, here's the siren. I'm going to go ahead and growl it a few times. And there you go. Here's gluing the first mounting block so that way I can have a cover on the bottom of the siren. Here's gluing up the next block for the bottom cover of the siren. And here's gluing up the last block. Alright, here's the finished product. The siren is now fully assembled. Got the bottom plate on there. And I got a power cord here. And now I'm going to do a full speed run up of this thing so you can hear what it sounds like going full speed. But I'm only going to do it for like a few seconds though. So, what should I call this siren? Leave any suggestions for a name in the comments and maybe I'll pick it. And if your name for this siren wins, it will be the name of this siren as well as the name of this siren in Tornado Siren Madness. That is, if I add this siren to Tornado Siren Madness.